Okay. How do we want to start it?
Hello, and welcome
Hello.
to Raising Hell.
To heaven.
We'll get used to that.
We will. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Chelsko.
And I'm Kate.
And we are just talking. We're going to give you a little intro today of what this podcast is all about and why we're here, what brought us together, all those fun things.
So you know what to expect, what you're getting yourselves into.
Yes. So, do you want to start us off or shall I?
I don't mind. What would you prefer, Chels?
I don't mind either. That's what I love about it.
Oh gosh, the two of us, hey, this is it. Well, okay. Let me just say that the whole point of this was the two of us gathering together to discuss, our journey and struggles. I think Christian struggles, Chelsea being, an old timer at this, and me, I just got baptized this year. This year being 2024 in February. And we wanted to create a space where we can discuss all kinds of issues, Christian-based issues, just issues in general, and a space where really shame can come to die on exposure. It's a space where we'll be discussing a lot of our own struggles and our own juicy issues. And really, I think it's about accountability. I know for me, my goal is to hold myself accountable here, really look in, as David Goggins would say, the accountability mirror, and own my stuff, own my dark and my light, my mistakes, my triumphs, because I don't think enough is said. And I know, like, when I was going through some deep, dark stuff, I wished that I had like people to say, hey, I've been here and I got out and I got better, and like, I'm not perfect. And also like a space for people to just be able to not feel that shame, to let that shame die, because whatever you've done, I've probably done worse.
And even if you haven't, right? Like, just the idea that the Lord is all forgiving, all knowing. He already knows. He's already forgiven you. His love is so unconditional. It's 7 times 77 times 77 times 77. Our grace is not based on works. It is not earned. And I think that's what we're here to, like, really get across, is that, like, no matter what any of us have done, there is no levels to this. There are no sins that are worse than others.
Yeah. Well, redemption is possible, but it starts, you got to forgive yourself.
100%. We just want to have a dialogue. We want to have this be a place where we talk about topics that other people are avoiding, that we've avoided, that I've avoided, because they're uncomfortable. But they need to be talked about, right? Like, we need to, the only way we can create, and we've seen so much growth, I think, in the past, I want to say 2 to 5 years, right? Like, mental health wasn't a thing when I was younger. Like, therapy was like for people with issues, like, and now it's like, if you don't go to therapy, you have issues, yeah. And it's really cool to see this growth happening and this dialogue happening. And I think, we want to be honest about our own insecurities, things we've fallen short with, just to kind of, like, share with you guys that you're not alone if those happen to be things that you're going through. If not, if there are other things too, we'll love to, like, discuss those topics. But we're going to be going through some hard stuff. But I think it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, I think, just speaking for myself, and I know because you and I have had these discussions, but we've been through our share of pain, and pain, as we know, is one of the most powerful teachers. And we've been through some crazy experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that I was talking to someone the other day, and she had said to me, I said to the Lord, use me or kill me. And that's quite strong. She's like, if you're not going to use me, I don't want to be here. And I feel like we've got to use like our mistakes that we've made or our experiences that have, been awful. And we've got to use those to shine light and to provide a way for people to say, like, it's possible to get out, it's possible to change, like, it's possible to shift your circumstances. It just starts with like that one small step, the decision.
Yeah.
It actually starts with a decision to want to change, and then finding your tribe, and we hope to be
your tribe.
Your tribe.
Yeah, I love that. Something else you said was talking about retraining the brain. And I think that is huge and very difficult, but very doable. And like you said, it's one decision. It's 1,000 little tiny decisions put together, right? It's that, one day that you went to the gym, maybe you didn't become ripped in that day, but if you keep going over a period of months, all of a sudden you're ripped. So it's that one little decision, one little hour can make a huge difference. 30 minutes in the Word in the morning, 30 minutes like doing some journaling, some positive health talk, like really rewiring our brains. And we want to go over some things that have worked for us. They're going to be different for everyone. But and healing is not linear, and it doesn't have an end point. It is different.
And it's messy.
It's messy.
It's messy. Healing is messy. I think, you see a lot of people's highlight reels, and we compare ourselves. I actually shared this the other day. We compare our like edits to people's best like highlight reels, and that's not the journey. The journey is messy. The journey is like some days like I'm like I don't know which way to go. Like some days I'm not my best self. Some days I repeat cycles and patterns that I'm trying to get out of. But the point is a willingness to want to change, and ruthless accountability. Like for me, that's what I think it is. Yeah, really being able to be accountable.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, why do people not want to be honest? Like, why do people lie? Why do people hide from the truth? Why do people hide from themselves? It's because of fear. It's this deep-rooted fear that if we are honest and if we speak out, then we will be judged. And if you spin that fear out, if I'm judged, then I'm found not to be worthy. So I have all these feelings of unworthiness. And if I'm not worthy, then basically I don't matter. And if I don't matter, then I'm invisible, and spin it out further. And it's like, if I'm invisible, well, then I may as well be dead. And that's like an extreme.
Yeah, but it's true. Yeah, that's where our brain goes. So maybe even on the subconscious level, but like that's where it's this inner cry to be loved, right? Everyone wants to be loved. Like as much as I love my singleness, like everyone wants to be loved. I still have people that I want to make sure love me, my parents, my sister, like we as humans are meant to love and to be loved. And that fear of expressing something that we've done or that has happened to us, or some area in which we did something well but not quite well enough, talking about those things is scary because we're afraid if we talk about them, we're not going to be loved. And I think the opposite is true, right? Like when you actually are vulnerable and show how real you are, people love that. It's contradictory.
It's a funny thing. It's a risky. It's daring to be vulnerable. Like it's scary. It takes courage to. Brené Brown said that it takes courage to be vulnerable, and never was there a truer statement. Yep.
A big thing that also is such a dialogue now is this men being told that they need to be tough and they need to suppress their feelings. And now we're finally being like, no, like, you can feel. It's actually very strong to feel. It is very courageous to express that you have feelings. And I think that that's a huge...
such courage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta feel it to heal it.
Yeah. So the other thing we're going to be going through and coming from in this podcast, which is kind of cool and unique, is that we both did come from different backgrounds. So I grew up in a family that was very, very church oriented, grew up in the church, both sides of my family. Like, in my mind growing up, it was like adults are Christians, like all of them. Like, that was my, like, and don't drink alcohol and don't, you know what I mean? And go to church on Sunday. Like, that was my perception of the world. And yours is very different. So I think it's going to be cool. All of these topics you're going to be getting from two very different points of view, but we kind of meet in the middle, which is neat.
Yeah, well, just a tiny bit about mine was, I mean, my father was Jewish and my mother was Christian. So it was this very enmeshed kind of household. And I went off on so many tangents. I was like, there's got to be more. I was on this quest. I was this seeker trying to understand, like, why is there this conflict? Like, my grandmother hated my mother because she wasn't Jewish. Well, not hated, that's quite a strong word, but my grandmother and my mom didn't really get along, just because she had such a strong Orthodox Jewish opinion, let me say.
Yeah.
And she did not like that my dad didn't marry a Jew, and that my mom didn't want him a guy, which means, like, you convert to Judaism. My mom wouldn't do it. So yeah, that was my background, and then I just, from that, I was just like, I wanted to understand it. I wanted to understand, seeing two different households. And I always had this idea that religion is like the same tree with these different branches. And I think that's what sent me on this quest. But I'll speak about that more in detail.
We're going to do a whole episode on that because I want to hear all of the details. Maybe we do like an episode on what you learned from each quest. I would love, because I personally would love to hear everything you learned about Buddhism, everything you know what I mean? Like, I wish I had studied other religions more, but anyways, bringing it back. So we also are going to speak on how the Lord has worked or is currently working in our lives, which is it's going to be tied into every topic that we kind of go over, but just some miraculous type of things that we've seen and we're experiencing, and what our beliefs are. That kind of...
Yeah, I mean, because my life has completely done... I actually didn't think it possible, and yes, we will share on this, but I am shook by how much my life has changed, and just myself, really, but, they say change starts within. Like, how you are within is what your reality is going to be. It's all a reflection. It's all a mirror. And mine has done a complete 180. So who knows? I'm excited for this journey.
Me too. And then going off of that too, we are going to constantly be kind of going over these, but talking about like what our beliefs and our core values are. And I think that for me personally, even though I grew up in the church and I wandered a little way. It was more like a little, like a small wander off the path, and then I came right back. But I did have that moment because you gotta find it for yourself. Oh no.
I'm sorry, guys, but he keeps making air biscuits.
He's so tiny. He's just like a little biscuit himself. Oh my gosh, but
sorry,
yeah.
Carry on.
No, I don't even know what I was saying. It was so funny. Yes. So, I was saying that it's so important to really define what you believe, and I feel like especially in such a fast-paced society, especially like in California or New York or LA or New York, but also just in general, our society these days is such a fast pace, instant gratification type of thing. Like, when do you take time to sit with yourself and be like, what do I believe? What do I believe? Not what has society taught me, not what has my parents taught me, not what have my experiences taught me, but what am I deciding and making a conscious decision to decide that I actually believe. So I wrote down some of my beliefs, and those will come, throughout. But I think that overall, it's very important to know that, like, to take the time. Like, we're encouraging you guys, if you haven't, to like spend some time with yourself and figure out like what it is you actually believe.
Put pen to paper because we all have a why. If you want to change your life and you want to get better, or not even better, just if you just want to make a change and let go of some things, you have to have a why. Because
What's your why?
what is your why? Motivation is not enough, because when you are tested and when things get really rough and your foundations are shook, you need to come back to your why. You need to come back to why you started this, why you're doing this, why you want to change.
Yeah. And we'll have to do an episode on specifically what our whys are. But some of the,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Some of the beliefs that I'm going to be talking about for myself, some are pretty average, some are a little different. We believe in redemption, I think both of us. I believe in Christ unconditionally loving us 7 times 77. Growing up in the church, it's been really important. And even recently, I'm continuing to relearn that what you'll find soon is that it's like Christianity is like high school. This is like a crazy analogy, but freshman year, you're all dressed up, you're dressed to the nine, you're in your best little outfit, you have makeup, the hair, the nails, the necklaces, and by senior year, you're showing up in sweatpants. you know? Like,
just keeping it together.
And then college, it happens all over again. Like, that to me is Christianity. It's like, woo, amped up, ready to go, Jesus. And then like 4 years later, you're like, I'm hanging on by a thread. But it's constantly coming back. What is your why? And we grow. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's not the opposite, right? And so each phase we grow and we get a little closer, and he doesn't leave. When we fall on our face, he doesn't leave. That's not like a, oh, I guess I wasn't a Christian after all moment. Like, that's I'm human and he still loves me.
He's the one man that's not going to leave your life, okay?
Him and my dog. We love our dogs. We should just call ourselves the dog ladies.
Instead of the cat ladies.
Yeah.
We're the dog ladies. We're single, we have dogs, and we love it.
Yes.
We have dogs and we have Jesus.
Yes. What else do you need? What else do you... And
a
you have
scripture
kids.
A day keeps the doctor away.
Yep. I like that. I like that.
That's
their little motto. Okay, something else that I would like to go over later, but it's one of my beliefs that I would love to hear what you have to say on this, because I don't think we've kind of discussed it before. Predestination, and we have manifestation, okay? And how those two are intertwined, and how much control does the Lord have? How much is he actively playing a part? There's a lot kind of going on there. And I feel like for me, what's the word? I feel like because we have free will, we are his hands. And it's so beautiful. I feel like he does work miracles, and he does whisper, and he does give us signs. And I do believe asking you shall receive. But I don't think he's puppeteering us. I think he's given us this free will, which is what makes us human, and that we are the miracles. And I think that actually also explains for pain. But I would love to, like, that's one of my beliefs that's a little different. And I think everyone kind of has a different stance on this. So I'd love to hear where you're at with that.
I completely resonate with that. I was actually having it's so funny that this comes up now, because I was discussing this with a friend the other day. And I do. I think, we've got, there is choice in life. There is choice. And it's almost just like, you know, I believe we do have a destiny. We have like our God-given purpose, but we have to reach that. And along the way, there's going to be exit points. Let's just call that, and detours. And I think it depends on where we're at, like spiritually, like where we're at on our pathway. And also, it comes back to that scripture, be still and know. I actually have be still tattooed here, just saying.
I love that. That's like one of
Because
my favorite verses in the whole Bible.
yeah, but because I constantly need to remind myself to be still. Because to hear, you can't expect God to work um through you until he says it to you. It's like you've got to be a clear and open channel for those messages. And I think there's certain things that we have to go through in life. Lessons are hard, but I don't think that I would be here today if I hadn't gone through a lot of the stuff that I went through. Because pain has been a big teacher for me, and I got to the point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like, I just had enough. I tried everything. I kind of half-assed this, excuse my language, and then I just decided to commit. And I guess, I know where I'd like to see my life go, but I'm also in a space where I trust so completely now. And I've never felt a sense of trust like this. I was always trying to control everything in my life, people, my kids, like every situation. And I have just let it go. And I really trust him. I trust that whatever is right for me, if I am doing my best, if I'm, like reading my scriptures, just doing my best to be a decent human and follow in the path and use the God-given talents that he's given me, then I'm going to be on the right track. So it's leaning into faith, and it's hard to lean into faith because you have to let go of control.
Yes. And that is very hard for us. I know that's hard for me. I love that. I love that. I love that we're both in this place because I'm excited to see how God uses this podcast, this friendship, just our lives when you're open to it, when you're open to seeing like, okay, like take the wheel. I'm here. And that's our big word for the show and for the year is, or phrase rather, just show up. And I think that we show up and we have faith, he will use us. And that's a beautiful thing.
But it doesn't make it easier though. Like, I've been tested the most now with certain things, like my sense of self-worth, and it's almost like what's being lifted out of me are these old patterns that I said, you better be careful what you ask God for, because I asked God for patience, and believe me, my children test me every single
why
day.
did you do that?
They test me, my kids, and I'm just like talking to myself, going like, you asked for this, choose a different response. And sometimes it works, but quite often it doesn't. Patience
and that's
is hard.
okay. That's okay. That's the it takes a while to learn. I think it takes forever. Some people are just so patient. I did that as well. Yeah, I asked for patience, and I just remember specifically my last relationship, the really healthy one. I was like, I'm gonna have to wait for this. Like, I'm gonna have to really wait, and I had to wait 6 months. 6 months to just even like have our second date, I think. Or maybe it was our first date. I had to wait 6 months for our first date. Then another 6 months until he actually committed. So it was like a year of waiting. But I finally was like, you wanted to learn patience. You want it the right way. And I did. And once I let go and stopped controlling and stopped waiting and was just like being patient, like actively being patient and realizing like if it's meant for me, it will be. And if not, something else is. That's when it came. That's when all of a sudden he wanted to be exclusive. That's when all of a sudden he wanted to spend more time with me. That's when I let it go instead of like, I want it now, like.
Yeah.
So it's, but learning patience is a journey. It is a journey for sure.
Well, I think That's actually such an important topic, though. The topic of self gratification, of waiting for things. This is going to be another episode. Um, I think that, we live in a culture where everything is instant. I mean, you were just saying, like, thank goodness for Amazon overnight delivery. Like, it's very rare in South Africa that we get stuff overnight, just saying. Uh, but it's instant gratification. It's like our whole culture is around that. And to really delay it teaches you gratitude. Actually, this is what I'm learning, because I'm feeling so much more grateful. Like, I've had so many shifts, and I think this will be a topic of, like, relationships and, waiting for marriage, or what if you've been married and you and your husband is dead, like in my case, and other people, like, you get divorced, or there's a number of things, boyfriends, like that's going to be a topic. I'm not going to get too much into it now.
Waiting. It's just going to be called Waiting for Godot.
Yeah. But, I think that you can change your mind, with that. I don't think your past defines you. And I think that if you make a conscious choice when you, like, give, that is not a word, but I'm going to use it.
It is now.
Yourself. It's now a word. When you re-give yourself to Christ, I feel like that should be a time when you're beginning again. You're reborn. So everything is beginning again. So you have the choice to then say, I'm going to wait for marriage. I mean, personally, that's what I'm deciding now. And I think that we should be allowed that choice.
100%. I think whatever it is that I think when you go through a state of reviving or, recoming, it's almost like a moment of coming back to your core, being born again, or if you're a Christian, like just coming back. It's like the lost son, the prodigal son who comes back home. And in that moment of clarity, like, he realizes what's good for him, like my family being around me, and he gets all these good gifts came with it, but he didn't come back for the good gifts. He came back because he realized what was important at his core. And I think that's what happens. So when we're, like, having a moment where, like, Christ and following Christ and listening to the word and surrounding myself with good Christian women is important to me, so important that I'm going to let go of sex, then guess what happens? Then you get the reward of, like, a beautiful, fulfilled marriage down the line. You get the reward of beautiful kids or whatever else comes, but that's not what you do it for. You do it for coming back to your core and coming back to your why. And everything else falls into place. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening, for watching on YouTube. Like, subscribe, please. Any questions you have, any topics that you're like, this is a hard one, throw them at us. We will do our best.
Yes, what we would actually also like to say is that we will have, I'm sure we'll have episodes, or they'll form part of the episodes. Send us your questions. Send us your anonymous. Let's get things spiced up here. You can send us anonymous anything, and we can go through that. We can go through questions. If you've got questions, stuff for us to answer, we're happy to do that. But just a little disclaimer, we are not professionals. I am not a psychologist. We are merely sharing our experience, strength, and hope, and our journeys. We're just two women on this journey called life.
And we love Jesus, and we love you guys.
And we do. We love you.
Yeah. Mwah. Ciao.
Bye now.
What is this? It's a peace sign with, I don't know.